Hey, everybody, Off the Mike Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. Okay, so let's break down the women's Money in the Bank match. I had high expectations going into this match. When I came away from it initially, I was like, okay, this was a pretty damn good match. One of the better women's Money in the Bank matches ever. And then I sat back and thought about it. And I was like, okay, some of these spots, particularly the Devil's Kiss on the ladder from Stephanie Vaquer to Rhea Ripley, were great. But as a full match, this was kind of disappointing. But let's get the first thing out of the way. The right person won. Unlike the men's match where it was fucking spectacular and the wrong person won, this was kind of disappointing. And Naomi, who in my mind was the only winner of this match that actually made any lick of sense because of where she was as a character, what she's done since the heel turn was official. Seemingly they went down that path at Elimination Chamber. It just made a ton of sense. Naomi's going to be a women's champion, maybe as soon as SummerSlam. They seem to be setting the stage for something. But her getting the briefcase was the right decision here. As a whole match, like, listen, I said it in my Money in the Bank predictions. I had high expectations for the match, considering this was probably the best field for a women's Money in the Bank match that they've ever done. All six of these women are phenomenal. Just a lot, some of the spots, like, the stereo. There was a stereo pop rocks or the stereo code red on the ladder that didn't really land. There was a botch spot where they were trying to, I forgot who was in the middle of the ladder. I think it might have been Alexa Bliss, where they couldn't close the ladder. I think it was Julia and Roxanne were working together. Um, I'm not going to say by any means that this match was terrible. But in terms of, I think the more that I get away from this, I think the women's Money in the Bank match from last year, which was capped off by Tiffany Stratton pushing Chelsea Green through two tables on the floor, was probably one of the better ones. Let's be real. Since the women's Money in the Bank match came into existence, there hasn't been a ton of really like standout women's matches. Like, I think the one in 2023 in London was actually pretty good. The one that Io Sky won last year was really good. This one, I think, was kind of being set up to fail just because, hey, there was so much talent in this match. There was a pretty obvious winner in Naomi, and the only thing that really could have screwed this thing up is if somebody else would have won. I think a lot of people would have been happy. If Rhea Ripley had won this match, I think a lot of people would have been pissed off because, much like Seth Rollins, she doesn't need it, but she's a babyface. That's a little bit different from what Seth Rollins is. With Naomi, like, this was so freaking obvious. The fan base has really been rallying behind her ever since she came back. This heel turn has seemingly put her in the best position that she has ever been in since she got back to WWE. I think this is setting up for a really fascinating run with the briefcase here to see what she can do. Um, they're already seemingly laying the groundwork for something to happen. I don't know how soon they're going to get to this, but I would expect by the end of the year, they're not going to wait like Tiffany Stratton was the first SmackDown of 2025. I don't think they're going to wait that long. It seems like they're setting up for something with Jade Cargill potentially winning Queen of the Ring, and that would mean she would challenge at SummerSlam. And if it's Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton at SummerSlam, I could totally see Naomi trying to get in the back door. If Jade were to win the women's championship, who knows if Bianca Belair is going to be back and healthy enough to participate in this the Queen of the Ring tournament. It seems like I think her fingers are still broke or still kind of screwed up. But Bianca Belair could fit into this whole narrative at some point. So they're seemingly setting up for something on SmackDown with Naomi holding the briefcase. So again, this match, like, by no means was terrible. But given, again, the amount of talent that was in this match, the amount of ability that was in this match, it feels like this match could have done a whole hell of a lot more. There was some really great spots, like like I said, the Devil's Kiss on the ladder was just like literally a chef's kiss. Like, that was great, and it also didn't. Maybe let me say this, and I got to call out my city. I got to call the place I've grown up in and lived my whole life. Los Angeles, what the fuck? I understand that you're a late arriving crowd, but part of that building was not filled at the start of Money in the Bank. You guys knew the show started at 4:00 local time. Like, what the fuck are we doing? I understand it's hard to get to Inglewood. Get there earlier. that was part of this. Like the crowd was still very much into it, but some of this was just like, the energy wasn't like fully there to kick off the show. And I don't know if that really played into it, but they laid out a pretty basic match. There were some good spots. Some of them just didn't really connect, which really, like I said, kind of disappointing. Again, doesn't mean that it was bad or awful. Like I said, men's match will be remembered as one of the best ever, like an outstanding, epic Money in the Bank match that had the wrong winner. This was, a perfectly fine, maybe disappointing women's Money in the Bank match that had the absolute 1000% correct winner in Naomi. And I am over the moon elated for a talent like Naomi, who, yes, even though she has been a tag team champion, has been a women's champion in WWE, she has never been as good as she has ever been at this stage of her career. And she has been largely underappreciated. I saw a bit that she had with I saw something that she had a great interaction on the post show with Big E, and they've known each other for like literally almost 2 decades, 16 years. And Big E was just over the moon and just so happy. Naomi is universally beloved in that locker room. She had to leave, unfortunately, because of the whole situation with her and Sasha Banks. Sasha, obviously, is Mercedes Moné, is now going to be in a prominent position in AEW. And Naomi, roundabout when he went to TNA, came back and now is literally on the run of her lifetime right now. And she's going to be the women's champion before the end of the year. I'd earmark SummerSlam as a possibility for this to happen. Like I said, with Jade Cargill being involved, potentially being involved in the Queen of the Ring tournament and potentially winning that tournament and challenging at SummerSlam for the women's championship, I would totally earmark that as a possibility. But at some point before the end of 2025, Naomi is going to be women's champion again, and I think that's just 100% the correct move. And even if this match really just what was a fun match, but like I said, kind of just was a little bit of a letdown, just given like I said, all 6 of these women are just fucking great. I don't think anybody really lost in this match. Everybody got their stuff in, but like I said, it just felt like they could have done more. Because like I said, outside of, some decent spots in this match, you look at that between this and the men's match, like the men's match just had so much more going on in it that it was ridiculous. Outside of, the Stephanie Vicaric Devil's Kiss spot to the ladder, what really was inherently memorable about this women's match, Rhea gets an insane reaction from the crowd. And then, like I said, I think one of the biggest things that really jumped out about this, and it got a lot of heat on social media, is, that later driving crowd. And trust me, I've known this from being in Southern California and living in LA my entire life. When it comes to sporting events, when it comes to anything, crowd arrives late. 4 o'clock on a Saturday was not a good choice to start this show. And if you were gonna do it, like if you're gonna do it, like LA fans, come on, really? I understand it's hard to get to Englewood, but come on, get there early, and also what the fuck's your delay when there's another show literally across the street like 4 hours before it? Come on, what are we doing? But all in all, like I said, over the mood for Naomi. Fine Money in the Bank match, good show. Yeah, we'll have a full on review of this show up later. I will talk to you guys real soon. Bye bye.